feel like I should apologize for not having my glasses. I look weird. Um, I wanted to talk a little bit about a few things Drew said in his most recent video. And they're more like personal niggles. And they get a little bit into nitpicking, but also I'm not really trying to engage like, is Drew right or wrong? It's just like certain things, certain ideas that he put forward. I want to springboard off of and explore. And I do get into like disagreeing slightly or having some questions about what's underneath the things he's saying. And I'm definitely not coping and wussing out of disagreeing with someone that I really admire. I'm not. The first thing he talked about when he was talking about this secret ninth episode that people were theorizing about, and this mechanism by which they were looking for all these patterns and creating connections and maybe a narrative, and how it just directly mirrors what happens with conspiracy theories. And there was kind of a mirror moment where I was like, yeah, that is also a mechanism that fuels the way that I think spiritual signs and synchronicities work. And there's been times in the past where I see like, well, AI psychosis too, but you obviously it makes me want to think about that process. Is that something I want to engage in? It's led me to a lot of beautiful experiences in my life, and I feel better for it. But when I'm confronted with that, and I get that feeling like, ooh, then I want to explore it. But also, I think it indirectly, I got a little bit triggered, and it's not Drew's fault. It's nothing he said bad, but it's weirdly, philosophy still feels like a male-dominated space and hobby, academic pursuit. And even outside of that, like, context, almost every man I've had an interaction with in my life, there's been a moment when we're talking and I bring up something. It's usually like spiritual, whether it's astrology, which I have reservations about astrology. I won't get into it. Not to split hairs, but like tarot or anything woo-woo. And I get this look that just cuts me to ribbons. And it's like, I thought you were better than that. I thought you weren't like that. I thought you were different. I thought you didn't have this like female mind virus. You know, it's like if you found this perfect gamer girl. I can't say that word, but you know, like you found this perfect woman. And it's like, oh my God, she like, I understand how she thinks. She's not, she's not caught up in all this dumb stuff that doesn't make sense, and is obviously illogical. But you know, she indulges it because it makes herself feel better. That's wonderful. And then you go to a coffee shop and she gets a pumpkin spice latte and you're like, oh, no. And the thing is, when that happens, I can see in the moment, and I can see it happening as the conversation continues from that point, the transformation of me from another person to a girl, a grill, something other, something that is still sentient and can speak English, and I relate to at some level, but is also something fundamentally I don't understand. It's not the same as me. Like that pure human connection where like gender is mostly specific personality and sex is just like the meat bag that we're living in, goes away. And suddenly there's so many more barriers to me communicating, and this assumption that I just like when I'm talking about something or when I have an opinion, it's not based on an understandable, logical idea. Like, it's corrupted by whatever is inherent in females to like want to believe in stuff that just comforts them, even if it's delusional. And it's so frustrating, and that's why I get so neurotic. I think talking about spiritual stuff is like, once that shift happens and like I'm no longer human in the same way, I can't claw it back. It just takes once. And so it's like, I need you guys to be on board. So that's why I need to head off everything. It's like, no, here's why this is purely logical. Like, ironically, I feel like I'm trying to speak, I'm going overboard to speak the way that guys will be receptive to, and kind of diluting myself and my own opinions a little bit, or at least trying to reframe them in a way that's gonna like fit within a framework that they will accept. And at some point that defeats the purpose. And at some point I realize, like talking directly to guys about this stuff, I rarely do. I avoid, like I'm saying it here because this is to the ether and whoever runs across it, and for me to look back on. But almost all people, but I feel like men especially, get the socialization where they don't feel the need to challenge their innate understanding, their already inherited worldview, like deeply. Like, they are only interested in engaging in a conversation to tell you why you're wrong. They're not usually interested in changing their opinions. Like, you show them something, they will give you your opinion. Sorry, they will give you their opinion about it, and they will explain it as they see it. But they will not, like, they will reject something way before they're going to let that be a piece of evidence that challenges their worldview. And that's just, I'm not saying that all guys are that way. I'm saying that our culture's socialization is such that men are more encouraged to do that. Men are more encouraged to believe in themselves inherently and not need to constantly like relitigate their own beliefs or be malleable. They are the leaders. They are the ones telling people truth. They're not the ones that have to be receptive, because that's how we, in the very broadest strokes, that's how our culture kind of sees masculine and feminine, is like the action, the going towards, and then the receptive. What the Drew, so right. This pattern recognition, I think if I'm coping and wanting to hold on to, thinking about, is there a way to hold on to the utility of what I found in signs and synchronicities spiritually? I think the problem comes when that pattern recognition is applied to a situation that you don't want to change your mind about. What I was just talking about, right? A situation where you are only looking for confirmation. And that applies in conspiracy theories, that applies with the secret ending. It's like, this is a trauma, that's a strong word. This is a situation that people watching Stranger Things who enjoyed the show can't accept yet. They're in this kind of cognitive distortion, or like they're just like, this cannot possibly be. Therefore, I have to create a reality that conforms to what is going to protect my feelings. And this applies in tarot when it comes to relationship readings, particularly on TikTok and YouTube. and I've had to do this with myself when I'm reading about situations that are like I'm anxious about, I have a deep attachment to, and I have come to realize I have to ask myself before I go into that reading, would I really accept a no? Like, if I dropped a single card and it was as black and white as just said no, you know, what you want will not happen, period. Would I accept that? And also, would I like crash out? Like if I drop the Ten of Swords, which is it's a guy who's laying like Family Guy style, and then there's 10 swords in his back, so it means kind of what you would imagine. If that card dropped, is it going to ruin my day? And am I going to reject it intuitively? Then the tarot becomes unuseful because I'm looking for confirmation. Sometimes people come and they're just looking for the cards to reassure them of their opinion and or to ask permission. This is kind of where I fall in sometimes. I have to be careful. It's like I want to do something, but I'm like, is this a good idea? Asking the universe permission. Is this okay? Is this the right thing? Am I on the right path? And that's just not it's not the right framing. It's particularly bad in the YouTube tarot readings because those creators, whether or not they have good intentions, they are financially incentivized to keep people in a state of discontentment, in a state of not knowing, right? The more these people have questions, the more they can sell you answers through ads or redirecting you to personal readings. The more they keep you in that state of anxious attachment where you're always needing reassurance. Does he like me? Does he love me? What is he thinking? Not letting them see the truth that the only way towards peace is being comfortable sitting in ambiguity and uncertainty and realizing what you can't know. And realizing when it's something that you can't know, these little bits of information that you like cling to, these signs, they're going to in the moment feel like clarity, but your mind knows that it's not. Your mind knows that it's not certainty. It's just like fake reassurance. And so you keep asking for those because it feels good, but then it's not truly satisfying. The only way out of it is to realize that the discomfort is what you get. Like, you just will not know, and you have to make peace with it. All that to say, this pattern recognition, this looking for narrative, becomes hijacked when there's only one answer you will accept. This would also be true in science, right? If a scientist is only selfishly looking to prove his hypothesis and is warping the framing of the results the way it's presented to kind of support that hypothesis, that's not really what you want to do with science. And I think with spiritual signs or other things like that, if they are coming to you and you are open-minded and you're looking for patterns to emerge, the most cynical thing, if you're wanting to be careful, is like this is a reflection of my own mind and where my mind is at. And so doing something like tarot, I'm seeing my own intuitive wisdom reflected more directly. And that's easier than trying to literally turn my eyes around in my head and look inside myself. It's easier to have a mirror. But also looking externally, if there is guidance from something metaphysical, something other than physical, you don't have to, like, language here plays a large part when it comes to spirituality and accepting spirituality, and there is a misogynistic component. I'm sorry to say, it's my opinion. Cue up the vine. It's my opinion. It's aesthetics plays a huge role. The words that you use, that people accept. You can see because hustle bro cultures will use like the idea of manifestation, but they use terms that sound like vaguely like sci-fi-ish, like energy or sciencey, you know, the law of assumption. But it's the same shit. It's just not high fantasy coded. And so what I'm saying is, I think, yeah, we shouldn't misdiagnose what is wrong when we see that there's a parallel between conspiracy theories and this spiritual leaning into intuition and like finding connections and meaning within parts of our lives that seem unrelated to like physical evidence, scientific explanation. Like, really, what is the issue in those cases is not the mechanism of pattern recognition, which is like a human superpower, to be honest. It is closing your mind and only accepting. I wonder, wait, what time is that? It's too early for it to be the fox. I think it's one of the cats. I think it's one of the roaming cats in the neighborhood. There's my ring camera going off. The other piece I wanted to talk about in Drew's video is when he was talking about, oh my God, Kayla. Hey, shush, shush, shush. Hey, what are you doing? I'm gonna come get you. Oh, okay. Okay, you did it now. Come here. Come here, you get to be in the video. No, come here. Come on. Come on. You little girl. You're in trouble. Oh my goodness. You see? Uh-oh. Here we are. Say hi, Kayla. I'm sorry. My mother, she had a lot of wisdom despite her many flaws. She would always say, our dog before looked almost exactly like Kayla. His name was Zach, and she would say to me, they implicitly trust you. They trust you that if you're doing something that they don't like, that is scary, that you're doing it for a good reason. And you cannot betray that trust by doing something selfish. And she was really against, and she, like me, she takes things to extremes. She was very against like costumes for dogs. And she's like, I can't, if I'm asking the dog to go through some discomfort or fear, it should be for a real reason. Anyways, Kayla especially is incredibly tolerant, but she does actually like to be held, which is, I've never had a dog that did. Oh my goodness gracious. But she's very, vets and groomers love her because it's very sad. She just like silently shakes when she's scared, but sorry. Drew was talking about the Duffer Brothers and how maybe they shouldn't have been writers. You know, just because you get famous at one thing doesn't mean you need to be doing something else. He talked about like Jake Paul writing a book. This came up with like Liza Koshy and going into mainstream media. It's a sentiment I've seen Drew echo, and like over the years I've seen it come back, where it's like just because you built a platform based on one thing and are really good at one thing doesn't mean you should go do something else. And here again, I want to break, because I need to split hairs a little bit, because it's important. When you say Jake Paul is good at making YouTube videos for 9-year-olds, does that mean he should be writing a book? Like, we're bamboozled by the fact that we hate Jake Paul and everything he does is suspect and probably garbage. And so we say, yeah, should he be writing a book? Like, that's easy to say. But still, underneath that is still that same toxic sentiment that there needs to be like a good reason for you to do like a certain artistic thing, or that you have to you owe your audience a certain level of quality. And if you can't meet that expectation based on like this long shadow of the best thing that you've ever done or the best kind of thing that you do, then that's like a betrayal of the privilege that you have in terms of your platform. And I just like, for a fact how hypercritical artists can be. And the more discerning an artist is, and the more self-awareness they have, probably the more likely they are to be self-critical. And so probably some of the best artists in the world are sitting on like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 projects because they think, this is not what I do. And I have no sense of how good this is because I haven't put this kind of thing in front of an audience before. And it's my own, I can't really judge it. And I'm just afraid people are gonna say like, you're a painter, what business do you have to be like trying to write music, And it's like, I understand the idea that you build up an audience's trust, and so that goodwill is buying their inherent attention. Like, you have a megaphone, you have their attention and their time they're giving you because of this goodwill you built up, that you can deliver something that's worthwhile. And if you don't, I understand the logic behind thinking like, I'm wasting their time and I shouldn't bait them in because it's like, oh, it's the very famous blah blah blah, and because he's doing it, right? It's as if like once you're a celebrity, then everything you touch is supposed to be golden somehow, and putting out something mediocre is like inherently so much more embarrassing. And I think like, I'm not mocking that, because I think like societally we sometimes feel like that, even if it's subconscious, or we don't like to think that we do. I just think it's I think that shame inhibits the best artists, and then the ones who have no shame, like Jake Paul, are the ones who are just like throwing out crapola. And I fear that, I think we have to throw out that idea entirely, even if it feels like it's enabling people like Jake Paul. But the thing is, it's not, because they're going to do it regardless. It's only enabling those people who have the fear and self-awareness that they're not going to be good enough, that they're not going to be honoring the faith that people have put in them, honoring their time. It's only going to keep those people back, I think. I worry. Parasocially, I worry that Drew is one of those people, but